G'day legends, I hope you're all fantastic. We are taking a look at the new HOTONE Pulze. This is essentially their Ampero modeler, complete with a touchscreen, paired up with a 30-watt stereo Class D power amp, some built-in speakers, the long list of amps, cabinets, and effects that the Ampero comes with, and packs it all into a very lightweight and compact portable solution. You can play back Bluetooth audio through this and use it for practicing. There is a built-in drum machine. There's a bunch of practice tools and utilities in here. But the main appeal for this is that this is something that you can use for practicing. So I want to give you an idea of what it sounds like just in a room jamming along to some backing tracks. Then we'll take a slightly more in-depth look at how you can dial in some tones using the mobile app and what it sounds like recorded direct, because this is also a USB audio interface. There's a lot to like about this, especially at the price point. Big thank you to David at Amber Music here in Australia for getting me one of these to make this video. Let's go. Let's start with the standalone in the room experience. This is really the strong point with the Pulze, and I think it's the big selling point here because this includes some features that other practice amps don't even get close to. You have a touchscreen on here, and you've essentially got an entire Ampero modeler built in here with a stereo Class D power amp and a pair of small speakers on here. Furthermore, HOTONE have some technology that they call Space Plus, which does some kind of psychoacoustic wizardry and can make some of the stereo effects sound even more stereo and wide, which is really cool. We'll hear that. But very quickly, to get the idea of how you work on this thing, you can either work with individual presets in here, so you can select presets one by one, or you can press over here and they're organized by categories, which I think is awesome. For example, if I pick this basement clean right here and we hear this in the room, I've got the main volume control, this big knob on here at around noon, and I'm going to crank it up. Once you've selected a preset and you're happy with it, you can come over to the parameter edit mode over here. You can scroll through the different blocks in here. So in this particular patch, I've got some reverb, some delay, a boogie amp model, and a few other fun things happening. Of course, in a given block, you can select between all the different effect types on here as well, or you can select a long list if that's easier. And we'll hear a few different amp models and patches a little later in the direct setting. Now, this is also a Bluetooth speaker. So what I could do would be, let's say I come down here and I want to select my presets and I want to get into my main lead preset. I've got my iPad set up over here with just some backing tracks that I've made that are available for my patrons. I'm going to play one of the backing tracks and just jam over it. It's like press the button, dial up the tone, and go. So let's try a kind of Floydy style thing on here. works really, really well on there. Dial up a tone, grab a backing track and start practicing. The workflow is super fast, and I like that the touchscreen interface there isn't too distracting. You can get your presets and tweak them really quickly, and the point again is to actually play along and start practicing. And once you do that, I don't really have the desire to go in and tweak on something like this. It can get relatively loud in the room. It's obviously not going to compete with a drummer in a gigging situation. If you were, say, rehearsing with an electric kit or something like that, this is definitely going to be loud enough in that setting. But I think the strong point is that you can scale this right down if you want, or of course use headphones with it, pipe your backing tracks through it, and it doesn't look super ugly like so many modelers. You could mount this on a shelf or put it in your music room and use it as a Bluetooth speaker when you're not practicing, and it looks the part. When I took this out, my wife was like, oh, that sort of has a real 40s, 50s radio vibe about it. So I think they've done really, really well in terms of having this look and sound like something you would actually want to use. What I want to do is explore this Space Plus feature on here. I'll just toggle it on and off with a clean sound. It essentially kind of like enhances the stereo image. It's using some trickery and some wizardry to do that. It's currently off, so we'll hear this shimmery shining star preset, and then I'll turn Space Plus on. Let's hear some direct tones now. I'm going to be using the mobile editor for all of this that you can see a screen capture of on the screen. So this is a factory preset called Blackface Trem. You can see it is using a gate. There's a compressor that's not engaged. It's using the black twin preset on here. It's using a factory matching cab on there. There's an EQ that's not engaged. Effects 1 is set as a tremolo, and Effects 2 is set as a spring reverb. Just like using the touchscreen on the Pulse, you can access all your different presets and sounds in here. You can arrange them either as a list of just all the different presets on here. You can see there's a lot of factory sounds in here happening. Everything from bass tones to high gain sounds. There's some acoustic simulators. There's acoustic IRs. You can load your own IRs. I'll show you a patch where I've loaded my own IR, or you can arrange these into song lists and categories. I'm in the high gain category at the moment. Let's go to this preset I've got here based around the Boogie Mark II C Plus model. You can see at the beginning there is a gate. It's using the TS drive. It's using the 2C Plus model on here. I've loaded in my free IR. I've applied a little bit of a low cut and a high cut in there. Then we've got some post EQ using the 5-band Mark style EQ, a little bit of this awesome BBD delay, and a bit of the hall reverb. So I swapped out the whole reverb for a plate right there. One thing that is super cool on here, and this is something that the main Ampero also has as well, these ambient delay 1 and 2. They kind of remind me of the Lexicon circular style delays in there. Look at all these different delay varieties in there as well. You've got bucket brigade delays, you've got digital delays, you've got tape delays in there, all the main food groups. Let's go with this stereo multi-tap delay. This one sounds pretty ridiculous in here. I am just going to turn the modulation down a little bit on here. You can see everything's pretty responsive on the mobile app as well. I can set this to be tempo synced or just free time on here. Let's just have a listen to what it does when I kick it in. You can also see that I can drag and drop to reorder these effects. If I wanted effects 1 to be a different category, I can select from all the different categories up here. Let's say I want a pitch style effect in here, and I just want, say, a basic octaver. There's a monophonic octaver and there is a polyphonic octaver as well. Let's just pick this. Should have a little bit of kind of grease and grit about it. I'm going to leave everything else as is. It even has a Boss Dimension effect in here, which is worth noting that not even Boss's modelers have a Boss Dimension effect in here. Let's have a listen to mode 3 on here. I know this is good because I've got the Ampero Mini, and this is pretty awesome. The list of available amps is very comprehensive as well. I've got the Marshall 800 at the moment. Again, I like that you can organize them in categories. The list of clean amps covers lots of different Fenders. You've got a Jazz Clean, you've got Matchless and Vox models in there. You've got some kind of Bogner models and stuff like that in there. The drive amps, again, you're gonna have your fun stuff like your Marshalls, your Plexis, your JTM 45s. I'm really, really impressed with how much HOTONE have crammed into this. Let's go back to that 800 model though, because this with my IR sounds like an 800 should, and I did a JCM 800 comparison recently between a bunch of big modelers, and I think this would hang with most of the big boys. Cleans up really well when you bypass the gate as well. It's even got the behavior you would expect from a JCM 800 with the bright cap on there, in that it gets really sparkly sounding. So there's a long list of effects. I don't really have time in this particular video to dive into it, but I do have some more Ampero videos coming up that will apply to this device. Keep a lookout for those. You can access the drum machine in here. You can tap the tempo in for a particular groove, bring something up and jam along to it. Something like that. Anyway, you've also got access to all the settings on the device, including the overall patch volume, that's instrument volume. You can compensate for different input gains on different guitars, Bluetooth volume, your auxiliary in volume, whether the Space Plus feature is on. You can set up the reference pitch for the built-in tuner, as well as all the USB audio modes on there. You can even set this up to do USB audio reamping on here. And there is a global EQ that you can dial this in if you want to use this with different playback systems on here. This is a pretty amazing device. This, to me, feels like the evolution of things like the Yamaha THR series, or even stuff like the smaller Boss katanas, where the HOTONE has the advantage is there is a very deep effects library. And this kind of rivals newer units like the Quad Cortex. There's more stuff in here than you would find in the new Fender Tone Master Pro, which is a lot more expensive. And I get that these units are different machines to something that has built-in speakers, but as a practice option, this doesn't feel like some sort of compromise on here. You can load your own IRs, you can dial in awesome effect chains and have kind of like rack quality delays and reverbs. The amp models sound fantastic, and they really are up there with some of the better, bigger known brands in my opinion. I cannot wait to do some more Ampero videos and do some more comparisons as well. But for now, that's the HOTONE Pulse. A massive thank you to David over at Amber Music here in Australia for letting me have one of these to make some videos with. This is going to get a lot of use around here, both as a practice app, as a teaching tool, because I can just throw this in my car when I'm doing lessons where I have to travel to a school or travel to students, and just as a Bluetooth speaker because it sounds cool and it's plenty loud. You know, I can plug this in outside while I'm barbecuing some meat or something like that in the summer heat. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments section below. And until next time, take it easy, and thanks for watching. Cheers.